Bartolo Longo was born February 10, 1841, in Latiano, Italy. He grew up in a devout Catholic family that said the rosary together on a regular basis. At the age of 10, Bartolo's mother died, which wrecked him emotionally, and he began to drift away from his Catholic faith. Bartolo's stepfather wanted him to be a teacher, but Bartolo aspired to be a lawyer and convinced his stepfather to send him to the University of Naples to study law. There, Bartolo fell into bad company and was heavily influenced by the nationalistic movement. General Giuseppe Garibaldi, who played a pivotal role in Italian unification, viewed the papacy as an adversary to Italian nationalism and actively campaigned to abolish the papal office altogether. At the same time, the Church in Europe was also competing with the growing popularity of spiritualism and occultism. Because of this, many students at the University of Naples took part in public demonstrations against the Pope, believed in witchcraft, and consulted mediums. Bartolo, too, participated in anti-Catholic demonstrations and preached publicly against the faith. He was quickly caught up in their fervor. "I, too, grew to hate monks, priests, and the Pope," he would later write. "And in particular, I detested the Dominicans, the most formidable, furious opponents of those great modern professors, proclaimed by the university the sons of progress, the defenders of science, the champions of every sort of freedom." He and his friends consulted psychic mediums, and eventually all of this led to his ordination as a Satanic priest and conducting black masses. Later on, Bartolo would describe how, in the rites of his blasphemous ordination, he promised his soul to a spirit guide, a demon, which shook the walls and manifested itself with blasphemous shrieks. For over a year, Bartolo played the satanic role, mocking the church and preaching against it. He hated anything and anyone who was holy, priests and religious, and those who called themselves Christian. He was even able to get others to leave the Catholic faith. But living under the spell of the demon he was bound to began to take a mental and physical toll on Bartolo, and he began to experience an anxiety and depression that went so deep that he felt he was going insane. Along with the extreme depression, he began to experience paranoia and confusion. He even began to show signs of demonic obsession, as opposed to demonic possession, which included being afflicted by diabolical visions and continually declining poor health. He ultimately experienced a mental breakdown. In his despair, he heard the voice of his deceased father urging him to return to God, return to God. His family, whom he had abandoned, had been praying for him all this time, and they urged him to talk to a priest and go to confession. In fear and desperation, Bartolo turned to Professor Vincenzo Pepe, a friend from his hometown, for guidance. His friend was able to get Bartolo to see how Satanism had done this to him, and that he must abandon it at once. He then brought him to a good Dominican priest, Father Alberto Bradente, who after 3 weeks of lengthy conversations on the Feast of the Sacred Heart in 1865, was able to welcome back into the church and give him absolution, and then led him to a devotion to the Blessed Mother and the Rosary. To help keep Bartolo grounded in his new life, Professor Pepe invited him to move in with him, and he surrounded him with the Catholic life, devotions, and practices, and introduced him to other faithful Catholics. Bartolo embraced his new life and refound Catholic faith with both arms, praying the Rosary daily and becoming a Third-Order Dominican tertiary on October 7, 1871. He fittingly took the name Brother Rosario, meaning Brother of the Rosary. As a self-imposed penance, he volunteered for 2 years at a hospital, and with the help of some Franciscan friars, he tended to the sick and the dying. In addition to this penance, he returned to where he used to go with his other Satanist friends, trying to show them the truth. He even showed up at one séance, holding up his rosary, saying, "I renounce spiritualism because it is nothing but a maze of error and falsehood." Although he had given up Satanism, he still practiced law and traveled to Pompei to attend to some legal affairs of a wealthy young widow. While in Pompei, he was shocked at the decline in ignorance of the people and their Catholic faith. He said, "For their every need, they would go to a witch or a sorceress in order to obtain charms and witchcraft. He asked one man if there was only one God, and the man answered, "When I was a child, I remember people telling me there were three. Now, after so many years, I don't know if one of them is dead or is married." Bartolo may have wanted to be done with the devil, but the devil wasn't done with him. He badgered and harassed Bartolo constantly with temptations of despair of the sins of his former life as a satanic priest, and Bartolo couldn't see how he could possibly be saved. He even contemplated suicide. He wrote, "I recalled my former condition as a priest of Satan. I thought that perhaps as the priesthood of Christ is for eternity, so also the priesthood of Satan is for eternity. So despite my repentance, I thought, I'm still consecrated to Satan, and I am still his slave and property as he awaits me in hell." As I pondered over my condition, I experienced a deep sense of despair and almost committed suicide. Then I heard an echo in my ear of the voice of Friar Alberto repeating the words of the Blessed Virgin Mary, "One who propagates my rosary shall be saved." Falling to my knees, I exclaimed, "If your words are true, that he who propagates your rosary will be saved, I shall reach salvation, because I shall not leave this earth without propagating your rosary." At that moment, he later recalled, the little bell of the parish church rang out, inviting the people to pray the Angelus. He regarded this incident as a confirmation of his resolution. At the suggestion of Pope Leo XIII, who Bartolo became friends with, he suggested that Bartolo and the Countess Mariana di Fusco, whom he had fallen in love with, get married, and they were married on April 7, 1885. Despite their love for each other, they remained celibate. Together, husband and wife dedicated their time and lives to teaching others about the Catechism, Mary, and spreading devotion to the Rosary. Bartolo wrote many books and pamphlets on the mysteries of Jesus' life and devotion to the Blessed Mother. He and his wife decided to start a confraternity of the Rosary, and Bartolo wanted a painting of the Blessed Virgin as a spiritual focus. A good and well-meaning nun, Sister Maria Concetta, offered him a painting that she had bought at a Neapolitan junk shop. She had paid only 3 lire, a tiny, insignificant sum even at that time. Bartolo was immediately put off by the painting when he first saw it, and he wasn't sure if he wanted it at all. He writes, "Not only was it worm-eaten, but the face of the Madonna was that of a coarse, rough countrywoman. A piece of canvas was missing just above her head, and her mantle was cracked. Nothing need be said of the hideousness of the other figures. St. Dominic looked like a street idiot. To Our Lady's left was a St. Rose. This I had changed later into a St. Catherine of Siena. I hesitated whether to refuse the gift or to accept it. I took it." In addition, the sorcerer turned born-again Catholic restored a ramshackle church in October 1873 and then sponsored a feast in honor of Our Lady of the Rosary. He installed the repaired painting in this very church. God gave his nod of approval at this, and within hours of hanging the painting, people began to see miracles. Soon, they were coming to the church in droves. Seeing the devotion of the pilgrims, the Bishop of Nola encouraged Bartolo to construct a larger church. He approached the architect Giovanni Rispoli to build it, making the following appeal. "In this place selected for its prodigies, we wish to leave to present and future generations a monument to the Queen of Victories that will be less unworthy of her greatness, but more worthy of her faith and love." In addition to building the famous Basilica of Our Lady of the Most Holy Rosary, Bartolo and his wife also founded elementary schools and orphanages, sponsoring orphan children and those whose parents were in jail. They built a print shop and a technical school for the children to create a life for themselves. He wrote books on the Rosary, composed novenas and prayer manuals. He built so many religious buildings and founded so many charities that Pompei began to be known as the City of Mary. Bartolo worked tirelessly in his old age, and on October 5, 1926, he died at the age of 85, saying, "I only want to rest in the arms of Mary." In 1980, Pope John Paul II beatified Bartolo, and because he had read so many of Bartolo's books on the importance of meditation on the life of Jesus. In 2002, he instituted the luminous mysteries of the Rosary. With great joy, it's been announced by Pope Leo XIV on June 13, 2025, that this former satanic priest turned saint will be canonized sometime in the year 2025.